杀你儿子这个人被判了多少年
？15年，有期徒刑15年。判决书下来就是放走了，从公安局里头放了，没收监狱就公安局就放走了。我找的是当初谁放的？当初谁放的？检察委就说是有保外就医。我说你证据拿出来了没有？证据没有了，你没有了还谈证据吗？这是一个。二呢，你没到监狱，你从哪证据保外就医？
济南一所学校学生身着红卫兵衣服，预示着文革再现吗？四川凉山山区小学生吃的午饭就是自带的用塑料袋装的饭团。素有粮仓之称的东北洪灾十分严重，官方媒体对此全部沉默。
村书记要欺负老人，村书记要打老人，村书记打老人了。
广东省揭阳市揭东区玉湖镇分水村，一位3代当兵报效祖国的村民家遭遇强拆。
这个可不是我自己签的字，好不，我就说啊，我知道内容，我知道这个内容，昨天前天就出来了，我就弄上，咱们上次上啊，这个字不是我签的，这个字是刚才你签的哦，来我们家是你签的，这个，不，就这个抓军生哈比亚是，这个是这个上次上，这个这俩字不是我的字，这也不是我写的，不放弃，我就是证明这个字不是我签的，真的。
只要美国军队一旦进入台湾，那将意味着中美两国之间的直接军事博弈，甚至是军事冲突进入一触即发的情况。真到了那个程度，中国没有任何退路，我们不可能有任何退路。所以到那个时候，我们不管付出多大的代价，我们也必须去直面这一切。
火箭军某部已经到达长沙市，名为保卫三峡大坝，实则用三峡当掩护，用下游几亿人当肉盾，为中共续命。
来了飞机没得这个的，
飞机坠落了。战斗机。
飞越台海和南海的中共解放军战机苏35在广西境内坠毁，飞行员重伤。环球时报引用华盛顿邮报痛批蓬佩奥的文章，称其为美国历史上最糟糕的国务卿。中共国商务部回应印度禁用118款 App 称坚决反对。局座张召忠发文，印度再次非法越线，还叫嚣解放军在印度坦克射程之内。PPTV 拖欠版权费1.6亿英镑，英超考虑终止与其合作。
我操，真牛逼！国营定点粮店，看来在帝都已经普及了，就等着数字货币以及数字粮票了。
我曾经等过你，因为我也相信你说的万水千山，细水长流。
咱们说理，咱们说理，把人放开。押进，押进，哎，押进门，哎，押进门，
My wife Lauren, as well as my 2 baby girls, and myself, we have all tested positive for COVID-19.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the latest star to battle COVID-19. He revealed in a powerful Instagram video message that he, his wife Lauren, and their young daughters, 4-year-old Jasmine and 2-year-old Tiana, all contracted the virus last month. While all 4 are healthy now, Dwayne stressed that their journey was a tough one, calling it, quote, one of the most challenging and difficult things we have had to endure as a family.
Wear your mask. It is a fact, and it is the right thing to do, and it's the responsible thing to do, not only for yourself, but for your family and your loved ones, but also for your fellow human beings.
I'm reading a headline from the leftist Economic Policy Institute. Trump has not brought manufacturing jobs back. You want to answer that?
Sure. We were able to go up over 500,000 manufacturing jobs when in the previous administration, Joe Biden and Barack Obama lost 200,000. One of the things that really heartened me last week was the ISM Manufacturing Index really popped up again. I think it's around 56 now, which is a very robust number, Stuart. And I think that we are continuing to work hard to make sure that the men and women who work with their hands have good jobs at good wages, and that's a primary focus of President Trump in mind.
Now, sometimes it seems to me that China is actually doing better than us emerging from the virus. What's your comment on that?
We are focused on defeating the China virus. They are doing what they're doing. We like our economy better than theirs. They have obviously a mercantilist, protectionist economy. Ours is a free market, free trading economy. But what we're focused on right now, Stuart, is getting folks back to work. And I think some of the untold stories of this pandemic is how we're actually creating jobs at the same time we're defeating the virus.
Well, Mr. Secretary, before you were the Secretary of State, you were the head of the CIA, and you were also on the House Intelligence Committee when you served in the House. Do you view China as our country's greatest threat? Is it on par with Russia or ahead of Russia?
Trey, the singular greatest threat to the United States of America from a foreign power emanates from the Chinese Communist Party. It's not, frankly, a close call. I heard the Attorney General's comments today about the particular threat related to elections, but broader and more deeply than that, the Chinese Communist Party is building out its military. It has infiltrated the United States in ways that Russia has not, and its economic might has been used through state-owned enterprises and subsidizing companies to destroy tens of thousands of jobs all across the heartland in America. It's unacceptable behavior, and President Trump's not going to permit it to continue. And then, of course, we're all suffering even today from the Wuhan virus. The Chinese Communist Party had a chance to slow it down, to stop it, to let the world know what was taking place. And instead of giving us full disclosure, they covered up. This is thousands of lives and billions of dollars in wealth destroyed in the United States and all across the world. This is what authoritarian regimes do. It's what President Trump is working to make sure they can never do again to America.
So if you look at what President Trump and Mike Pompeo are doing, it is to establish reciprocity in our relationship with China. So right now, you were just talking about Chinese diplomats in the U.S. They are treated fairly here. They're given free access. They can talk to state and local leaders. They could go to university campuses. Our American diplomats in China cannot do any of that. They have to receive permission. They have areas in China that they're not allowed to go, and they often don't get that permission. So we have engaged them here at the State Department. We have said we would like all of our diplomats to be treated the same way in both countries. Since they have refused that, we have said, fine, your diplomats, your Chinese diplomats in the United States will have to get approval before they meet with state and local leaders. Their social media accounts will need to be identified as government accounts. Meanwhile, this is the social media that that Chinese citizens don't have access to, and they're going to have to get approval for events. We would love for our American diplomats to have the same free and open access that Chinese diplomats have here, but so far, the Chinese Communist Party has not allowed that. As the Secretary said to you, he hopes that we can get them down to zero. Everything we're doing, whether it's on the South China Sea, Confucius Institutes, closing their institute in Hong Kong, making their diplomats have the same treatment that our diplomats have in China. We will continue now and onward to put pressure on the Chinese Communist Party to understand that there are 40 years where through Republican and Democratic administrations, people turned their eyes, turned their head, ignored what was happening. The Trump administration, President Trump and Mike Pompeo are not doing that. We're holding them accountable. They've never been held accountable anywhere in the world like this administration is now holding them accountable.
The Pentagon says that China is aiming to double the size of its nuclear arsenal. Tell us about China's fast modernization and development of its military, Gordon.
Well, China clearly is going to double its number of warheads, as the Pentagon report says. There are actually suspicions that China's been testing devices in its modernization drive. Basically what Beijing is doing is it's building a military that is more than it needs to defend itself, because no country threatens China. So essentially what China is trying to do is build the forces that would allow it to break apart its neighbors, as it's currently trying to do. And that really means that we're seeing countries on China's periphery start working very closely together. So although China is building this big military, and that is frightening, China can't really win the race because it's racing against everybody else.
Hitting Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. For the radio audience, I'm going to narrate some of it here. Let him bite anyone. He opens his mouth immediately. How did a former opponent of Trump become the disgusting liar hated by all the people in all the countries? U.S. Congressman, Director of the CIA, Secretary of State, political amateur Pompeo, they say. What's his secret of effortless success? He is a complete waste, but number one in riding coattails. We cheat, we lie, we steal. What ugly stories are hidden behind this rare honesty of Pompeo? The clumsy performance of this political puppet and diplomatic whore is on. BTV1 profiles will reveal Pompeo, the three-family slave. Amazing.
It's absolutely stunning. So for the TV audience, you could see this is a 60-second spot narrated by the host of the show. It's quite powerful, but Raheem just did read the subtext. I want to thank G News and GTV for getting that to us in English. The reason we want to do it, it's pretty extraordinary. We've been contacted by a lot of people in China saying they have not seen an American official ever beaten down like this with an official broadcast. This show is kind of, I think, like the 60 Minutes of CTV, or one of the major channels over there, obviously all owned by the Chinese Communist Party. I've had the opportunity to see subtitled probably 6 to 8 minutes of this. I think it's a 1-hour show. We're going to try to get it up on America's Voice, hopefully over the weekend or something, so people can see it, or at least on the site. It's extraordinary. I mean, they go after Mike Pompeo hard. He's a snake eater, he bites. I mean, everything. There's nothing good about this guy. He looks awful. He's evil.
He's just rides the coattails of Trump. He's the true evil, on and on and on again. And my understanding is that people like Peter Navarro and Tom Cotton and others are in the are going to be in the lineup as they come. They are losing it. Democratic Party and the progressive left is losing it here, and that's where they're striking out and attacking. And they're losing it in China. The Chinese Communist Party, they're losing. They know they're losing, so now they're going to go. Remember, with the firewall up, this is the poison that is put into the Chinese people day in and day out. That's why the new federal state and the whistleblower movement and all these things are coming together of people saying, hey, we need to get accurate information because we can make our own decisions, right? But this is this poison that's put out by the Chinese Communist Party. And they've taken on a guy like Mike Pompeo, who's nothing short of a hero, and short of a hero to the Chinese people that are...
中国人真是14亿人呐，可怜可悲啊！希望我们这回那个新中国联邦灭掉共产党以后，能找回中国人应有的尊严。我这两天真是我看到这个中国人均4000人民币啊。人均4000人民币，这事儿咱得好好说道说道，啊，咱日本的那几个现在马上啊，几个朋友全都登基了啊，全都厉害了。他们有两个方案，一个短期方案，一个长期方案。短期的、长期的都会跟咱们合作啊，短期的、长期的都会支持新中国联邦，而且彻底大变。我给大家透露一下啊，一定会先来美国，大家就会先来美国，先来美国，啊，来完美国以后就有大事发生啊。过两天你们看看吧啊。
共产党，你完了！共产党，你完了！
根据国际特赦组织的数据，全球有7000多名医护人员死于冠状病毒，其中墨西哥是医务人员死亡人数最高的国家。巴西冠状病毒病例突破400万，已确认类固醇可减少严重患者的死亡风险。澳大利亚延长了国际旅行禁令。为遏制病毒蔓延，新西兰将社会疏离措施保持至9月中旬。维珍航空将裁员1000多人。纽约州赌场和纽约市购物中心下周将重新开放。美国股市创下自6月份以来最糟糕的一天，道琼斯指数下跌807点。因就业市场继续复兴，美国失业人数下降至88万人，